Welcome to Seafood and Fish from the Grill. We've got a lot to talk about today, but before we get started, I want to get this beautiful piece of salmon onto the grill to cook. I'm just going to put a little oil on the grill. I've already oiled the fish itself. I'm just going to gently place that down, and we'll get back to that in a few moments. So, fish and seafood have become one of the most important and expensive commodities in the cook's repertoire. As we continue to tax our resources in the ocean, prices continue to escalate. So respect for the product is key. Looking at the muscular makeup of fish, fish are designed to make their way through water, which really isn't all that difficult. As opposed to land animals. Land animals have a much higher bone structure. They have much more connective tissue. All of those things lend themselves well to making food more unctuous and moist. Fish, we don't have that benefit. So it's real easy to take a really nice piece of fish and turn it into a really bad piece of fish. So we're going to spend some time today teaching you how to not do that. Here I have a beautiful piece of tuna, and although I realize that you as a consumer would generally not buy tuna in this particular form, I want to sort of take this apart, deconstruct it, look at the different pieces and parts, and talk about what we do with those pieces and parts. So back to my salmon for just a moment. I wanted to just start off by simply grilling a piece of fish that everybody probably has tried to grill. So looking at salmon, it's a very delicate fish. It grills up very nicely. We're using a gas grill here, which is great. Gas lends itself well to cooking seafood. Not too much wood or smoke flavor, nice even heat, and it's very convenient. So one of the most common mistakes people make with grilling fish is they try to move it too soon. So what I've done is I've put this on a very hot part of the grill, and right now I can see right along here I've got a white line, sort of semi-translucent line along the bottom of this, which tells me that this is forming a crust. And if I want to verify that, I can take my spatula, just gently lift up, and see that it's not sticking to the grill. So I'm going to give that about another 30 seconds. We'll come back to our tuna, and we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between these two pieces of fish for a moment. So what I have here with the tuna is I've actually cut this in a manner that we call blocking. So I've cut this into sections already. The first piece I want to talk about is this. This is what we call the bloodline. This is where the meat attaches to the cartilage of the fish. It's very high in myoglobin, which is a chemical compound that basically moves blood to your energy cells in the muscles. And this is really, really irony in flavor. So we basically don't have any use for this except to attract bees. So we're going to throw this in the garbage. And hopefully that'll take the bees to the garbage as well. The second piece is much different. The second piece is our prime cut. This is our sashimi piece. And this is used in sushi restaurants and Japanese restaurants for just that. They slice this, they dress it up with a little acidic marinade, and they serve it raw. I think our salmon is just about ready to move now. So the idea is that this soft flesh forms a nice crust that won't stick. So being very delicate, just kind of gently lifting up as we go the length of the fish, and then I'm going to cross it over and form a further crust by getting those grill marks on the other side. So you can see we got a little bit of shave there, but should still look nice. Now, coming back to the tuna, the next piece, what I've done here is I've cut this into what we call rectangular blocks, so rectangular pieces, so that I can get nice uniform slices out of these. So as you can see, this one's not quite rectangular because it's coming off the angled end. And then what I do is I continue to angle down until I get them squared. So this one's a little bit more rectangular here. Still a really nice piece of fish. So this would be sliced against the grain this way. Oftentimes for nigiri sushi, they would slice that really thin. And then this last piece, or two pieces out here, this piece has a lot of connective tissue. So that generally would become something like tuna tartare or spicy tuna roll. That would get chopped up for a different purpose. And this piece is a little bit off shape and has a little bit of the sinew, so maybe not quite as prime as that. So all of these are used for prime presentations, as is this last piece here, which we're going to use for our niçoise salad. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to brush this with a little oil. I'm going to look for the nice presentation side here. I'm going to grill this, but I'm not going to grill it very much. And I'm also not going to season it. And I'm not going to season it because we're going to add the seasonings afterwards. With this preparation, we're going to be adding some delicate herbs and spices to this, and I don't want to cook those herbs and spices. I don't want them to burn. So I'm just going to oil this to keep it from sticking. And it's going to go right on the grill, a little oil on our grill. Now our salmon is ready to turn. You can see we had a little bit of sticking there in the middle. The nice thing about a piece of salmon like this is it's almost like two different pieces of fish. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have this middle section here is going to be nice and moist and flaky, and this end section where it's thinner and fattier is going to be almost like salmon bacon. It's going to be really crispy, might even have a little char on it. So I really like that. Next, we're going to take our cherry tomatoes, and they're going to go on the grill with the salmon. And you may think it's odd to grill cherry tomatoes, which is perfectly fine, but I'm going to tell you the reason why in a few moments here when we get back to the salad itself. So it looks like our salmon is ready to plate now, so we're going to take that off of the grill. And we're just going to present that here on a plate. We've got a little fresh herb there. I might just drizzle a little bit of lemon juice over the top of this, but basically I would just eat this very simply, enjoying the nice delicate flavor of the salmon itself. No really overload in smoke, no additional seasonings or herbs, maybe just a little olive oil and lemon juice. So here is our simply grilled salmon. And now we're ready to take a look at our tuna. We've got it cooking over here on the grill. We're going to cross this. So the entire piece, we're just going to gently lift it off the grill and cross it over like that. Our cherry tomatoes bubbling away. We're going to take those off and just let those hang out here for a moment. And we're going to start looking at our salad. So we're going to start off with our dressing. Our dressing is a saffron Dijon vinaigrette. So going through the different ingredients quickly here, we have some chopped capers, we have some dried oregano, we have some champagne vinegar that's flavored with saffron. You can see the saffron stamen in the bottom, little crocus floral stamen there that make things a really bright floral yellow with a really interesting citrus flavor, floral flavor to them. We've got a little bit of caper brine, a little bit of fresh orange juice, Dijon mustard, minced shallots, minced garlic, and some red chili flake. Give it a little bit of spice. So I'm just going to add all of those ingredients into my bowl here, starting with the capers. And about half those shallots. I'm going to go ahead and turn the tuna now because it's ready to go over to the other side. What I'm trying to do with the tuna is just sear the outside without cooking it through all the way. I want this to be nice and rare in the center, but I want it to have a nice little crust on the outside on both sides. So now I'm ready to mix up my vinaigrette. I'm going to add a little bit of salt here and some fresh ground pepper. And then I'm going to mix this up and I'm going to whisk in some olive oil to this. It's really a beautiful colored vinaigrette. That saffron just really lightens things up. It's going to be a great complement to the tuna. So I'm going to slowly add in olive oil here while I whisk this. Break up the fat molecules into smaller and smaller droplets so that they can be surrounded by the other ingredients here, because fat and water don't necessarily like to hang out together. So by agitation, I can make those two get along even though they don't want to. So I'm going to add about 3 parts of oil to 1 part of acid in a basic vinaigrette. And I'll go back to the tomatoes now, so you can see they're kind of blistered. I'm looking at them on the board next to my dressing. And the reason I grilled those tomatoes is because I wanted to break the skin on them, so that when I toss them in the salad, the mechanical process of moving them in the salad, they're going to release all that beautiful sweet juice from the tomatoes, and that's going to become an element in my dressing as well. So I've got some nice mesclun greens, so just garden clippings basically. A variety of different things. I see some red oak leaf in there, some frisee. I'm going to season this with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I'm going to add to it some ingredients here. So I've got a number of ingredients. Some of these are going to be garnishes. Some of these are going to be ingredients in the salad. So the egg is going to be one of the garnishes. So we'll just set that aside. The ingredients are going to be slivered red onions, blanched haricot vert cooked in salted boiling water so they're nice and tender, and then some red potatoes that have also been pre-cooked ahead of time. So these are all going into the salad. Onions, green beans, and the potatoes. Everything in. Coming back to the tuna, so this is cooked about as much as I want. I can see on the edges here it's still nice and rare, but I've got a nice crust on the top, nice caramelization, nice sort of different flavors and textures. So I'm going to have that nice sort of sashimi raw tuna flavor in the middle and the cooked tuna flavor on the outside. So I'm going to let this rest here on this plate for a minute, cool off a bit, and then we'll come back to that. I've got a really kind of cool and interesting little procedure that we do for that. So I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of this dressing. I'm whisking it to make sure there's got a lot of solid ingredients in the dressing. I want to make sure that I get, because I don't need all of this dressing, I want to make sure I get equal representation from the dressing into my salad. So now I'm just going to toss all this together, make sure everything's fully coated. And this is going to kind of hang out for a minute. I wouldn't want to dress this too early because the acid starts to break down and wilt the lettuce leaves, but I do want to dress it enough that the green beans and the potatoes and the onions, the things that didn't get any dressing, kind of soak up some of that flavor. At this point, I'm going to drop my tomatoes in here, and I'm just going to lightly toss those at the end because I don't want to break them down completely, but I do want to get some of that juice into the salad. And so now I'm going to move the salad bowl down here. I'm going to take this piece of plastic wrap, put it up here on my board. Here I have a mixture of herbs and seasonings. I have some salt and black pepper in here, a little bit of tarragon, some chervil, and some Italian parsley. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to spread it over this plastic wrap. And this is going to be the coating for my tuna. But it's going to be a nice fresh herb coating as opposed to putting this on prior, cooking this all down and really losing the fresh quality of the flavor of those herbs. I'm just going to put a little olive oil on the top of my fish. It's going to kind of help those to stick. I'm going to take this piece of tuna, I'm going to put it right down there. A little more olive oil. Not too much. And then I'm just going to roll this over. Capture all those herbs on the outside. Maybe just a little more. So the reason I'm doing this on plastic wrap is this plastic wrap actually is going to serve another purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up very tightly in the plastic wrap. Sort of cocoon it, if you will. We'll get back to that in just a moment. So now we're ready to plate our salad. I'm going to cut my egg into wedges. Place the salad gently. Try and be conscious of all the different ingredients and colors and make sure that I'm not burying all these beautiful ingredients that I put in here so that I see the potatoes, I see the red onion, I see the cherry tomatoes in there. Now for our garnishes. So I'm going to use These are some Niçoise olives, which is the name of the salad. So this salad comes to us from the south of France, from a town called Nice, one of my favorite places to be. And every time I make the salad, it takes me right back there. I can't wait to get back there again. Some white anchovies, what we call boquerones. And I didn't want to toss these things in because they're going to get lost in there. I want these to be sort of evident on the surface. Maybe a few more Niçoise. And then I have a second olive here, which is a picheline, which is a green olive, just to add a little color contrast, same flavor profile. And the egg wedges. Beautiful color contrast. Adds a little protein. And now to our tuna. So this is a traditional sashimi knife from Japan. It's actually made for cutting tuna. So I'm going to utilize the plastic wrap here. When you cook tuna like this, the edges get sort of crumbly, and so I'm going to use the plastic wrap to hold this all together while I slice it. So I'm literally going to slice right through the plastic wrap. And then I'm just going to take the plastic wrap off. All my herbs stay on the edge of the tuna. Make sure you get all of the plastic wrap off. Nothing worse than biting into a piece of herbed plastic wrap in your Niçoise salad. And that end piece I'm just going to discard. I'm just going to put these back in the same order that they just were sliced in. Uniformity. Here we have our beautiful salad Niçoise with herb grilled tuna and saffron vinaigrette. So our next recipe is all about local products. We have some beautiful Napa Valley grape leaves. This is one of the larger ones I've ever seen. And we have some beautiful local halibut. So this halibut is typically caught this time of year all up and down the California coast from Monterey up into about the north coast around Mendocino area. Really beautiful fish. So we're going to combine these two elements into a little parcel on the grill, and we're going to get that going first thing. So I'm going to take a little olive oil. Actually, I'm going to brush a little oil onto this. A little brush of olive oil onto the grape leaf. And I'm going to use a little salt and pepper. And a little fresh lemon zest. I'm going to place this with my presentation side up on those aromatics, and then I'm going to do the same treatment again on the top. This time I'll drizzle a little of the extra virgin oil. Again, more lemon zest. Salt. Pepper. Now, I'm just going to fold this up into a little package. And then I'm going to brush the grape leaf with a little oil as well. And basically I'm going to put this on the grill. This is going to do a couple things for me. It's going to protect the really delicate flesh of the fish, which is easy to damage on the grill. It's going to steam the fish inside of that little parcel, and we're going to pick up some nuance of flavor from the grape leaf as well. Now I'm going to take a look at our halibut. I'm just going to turn this over. And then I want to talk about our mixture here. So this is a piperade of sorts. So what we've done is we've taken Spanish onion and garlic, wilted that down softly with some olive oil. Then we added to that some fresh roasted peppers, Kalamata olives, and some fresh chopped parsley. That mixture's now been warmed, kind of homogenizing all the flavors. And we're just going to leave this up here to cool off for a moment. Next, we're going to take a look at our vinaigrette. So we have a garlic and lemon vinaigrette. So we have chopped garlic, lemon zest, lemon juice, and fresh oregano. Those are just going to go in the pan here, mixed with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. So our garlic, lemon zest, oregano, and lemon juice. We're going to add to that a bit of salt, some black pepper. Very simple vinaigrette. A lot of flavor from the oil. Lemony, obviously, with the lemon zest and juice, and then that sort of tart oregano flavor to it. So our halibut's just about done. Vinaigrette looks good. I'm going to put these slices of bread on the grill just enough to get a little bit of toast on them. Say 5 is enough. And now we're going to start to assemble our salad. So I have some beautiful arugula here, one of my favorite greens, a sort of peppery, spicy green. So I'm going to get a little salt here. I always salt my greens even though I've seasoned my dressing. The salt kind of bridges the gap between the flavors in the dressing and the greens. Just going to spoon a little bit of the vinaigrette into my salad mix. And then I'm just going to gently toss this. I don't want to beat these greens up too much. These nicely coated evenly. And I think we're ready to assemble our salad. So I'm going to start with a little of the greens. Placing gently. Couple of pieces of the toasted bread. And then I'm just going to unveil our halibut fillet here, just kind of peel back the sections that I folded in. I'm just going to set that right on the edge there. And here we have our beautiful local halibut, steamed in Napa Valley grape leaves, pipperod, arugula salad, and toasted bread. Next, we're going to take a look at shellfish. We've got a couple of different varieties here. We've got some beautiful oysters, and we have some shrimp. We're going to do a different treatment on both of those. So we're going to start off talking about our shrimp first. I'm going to make just a really simple marinade for these shrimp, and then we're going to get those on the grill. So I have some red chili flakes here, some chopped garlic, some freshly cut cilantro, a little bit of white wine, and some extra virgin olive oil. So we're just going to mix those together, starting off with the red pepper flakes. Moving on to a good quantity of chopped garlic, our cilantro, good amount of extra virgin olive oil, and just a splash of white wine in there. The white wine's going to give us our acidity in this, and also there's a little bit of acid in the olive oil as well. So I'm just going to mix this together. Yeah, add a little salt and pepper to this. just leave that there for us. We'll leave that here for a moment. Here I have some beautiful shrimp. You'll notice these shrimp have kind of a pink hue to them, and that can be a little disconcerting to some people because with certain varieties of shrimp, that coloration indicates that shrimp is going bad. These are freshwater shrimp, so they have this color naturally. And shrimp are one of those products, when they're going bad, they make themselves very obvious to you. These are really beautiful, pristine shrimp, freshwater shrimp, and I'm going to show you just how to peel and devein these. So you'll see they've had these little legs here. They've got this tough outer shell, and then they have the tail, which sometimes we want to keep that tail on as sort of a decorative piece. So to peel and devein these, I'm going to take the shrimp, and I'm going to take my fingernail, and I'm just going to run it through and break open this armor from underneath, and I'm just going to peel that back and take it right around and off the shrimp. Same thing here. So they also have a little vein that runs along the back here that we want to get rid of, and it's somewhat unpleasant. It's part of their digestive tract. So we just want to take that out. We can use a knife to scrape that out. Usually it just falls right out like that. Same idea here, splitting down the back. Just removing that vein. And discarding. So next we're going to skewer these shrimp. And I like to lay the shrimp down flat on my board. I'm going to do 2 skewers of 4 here. This way I can run the skewer through the shrimp and keep the flat side of the shrimp down. If I want to, I could even run 2 skewers, because a lot of times things like shrimp will kind of spin on the skewer. 2 skewers will keep them as a flat surface and as a solid mass, so when I flip, I get nice even grill marks on both sides. So I'll move those down to the platter here. Now we'll get our marinade on these guys. Bring that back up here. So I would maybe marinate these for about an hour, but I probably wouldn't go much longer than that. The combination of the acid, the salt, and the chilies in here denature the proteins in the shrimp, and they'll start to break down the shrimp and cause a negative texture, sort of a mealy, dry texture, which we don't want. So now I've got a nice marinade on here. We're going to go right to the grill with these guys. So here we have some beautiful oysters. We're really fortunate here in Napa Valley. We're about an hour and a half away from a couple of great sources of oysters right up the coast of Bodega Bay. We'll literally drive up there on a Sunday morning. We'll get a bag of 50 oysters, hang out, drink wine, open oysters. We'll eat a bunch of them raw. We'll even grill some. But let's face it, not everybody likes raw oysters, so I'm going to show you an opportunity to cook these oysters, still maintaining the integrity of the oyster. But if oysters on the half shell isn't your thing, maybe grilling them might be kind of fun for you. So I'm just going to put these guys right on the grill in the shell and everything. And we're literally going to use the shell as a vehicle to cook the oysters in. So they're basically going to sit here on this hot grill. Shell's going to act like a little mini oven. It's going to steam in its own juices. And then we'll come back to that in a few moments. So next we've got a sauce for our shrimp that we're going to take a look at. So this is a sauce called a sangrito. A sangrita literally means a little blood in Spanish. So what it is a mixture of fruit juices with some aromatics and some spice to it. Oftentimes it would be the leftovers from a fruit salad, leftover beverage of some sort, and there's many different regional preparations of this, so you get some different variances in ingredients. So I'm going to start off. I have some Worcestershire, brown sugar, some Tabasco, fresh lime juice, and olive brine here. In the backdrop, I have some fresh squeezed tomato juice and some fresh orange juice. So I'm just going to combine all of these elements. Start off with the olive brine, lime juice. This is going to give an acidic, sort of hot quality to it. And they would literally use this liquid as a beverage. So they'll take this and they would serve it alongside tequila. And the combination of the heat and the acidity and the sweetness from the fruit sort of put a limit on the kind of harsh flavor that you sometimes get in tequilas. So I'm not going to use all that tomato juice. So in fact, we're actually going to use this as a sauce and not as a beverage. So I thought it might be kind of fun just to add a little tequila to it, sort of an homage to the tradition. So I've got some white tequila, some Blanco. All right, we're ready to check on our shrimp and oysters. I think they're ready to come off the grill. Shrimp look great. Take a look at the shrimp. You'll notice that they haven't curled up. That's one of the signs that shrimp's overcooked, is when it curls up into a tight little ball. These are still fairly open, but I can definitely see that they're cooked from the texture. And our oysters, you'll notice they're bubbling away, so those juices inside have steamed the meat on the inside of the oysters. So this has, not only does it taste great, but it also makes the oysters a lot easier to open. Trying to open a raw oyster can be a bit of a cumbersome exercise if you don't know what you're doing. But with these guys, just an oyster knife, I can literally just pop the shell right off. Do another one. So I have some compound butter here. And I'm just going to take a little bit of my compound butter. Oops. And to keep this on ice so it stays nice and firm. And I'm just going to break a little piece of my compound butter off and let it melt into the oyster. And then I can just place these back on the grill for a second if they're still not quite there. So it should be hot enough to melt that butter. But if not, just pop them right back on there. 45 seconds, they'll be ready to go. In the meantime, ready to plate our shrimp. So we have our plate here. With the skewers, when you take skewers out of an item like this, if you just pull the skewer, a lot of times you may tear the flesh of whatever you're removing the skewer from. So if you just twist the skewer a little bit, they come out nice and clean. Our oysters are now ready to go. The butter's moist, created its little sauce there on the oysters. So I've got some rock salt here on this plate. What that's going to do is it's going to give me a bed to hold the oysters up so that they don't fall over and spill all the juice or sauce out of them. So that rock salt just acts as a little bed there to hold these guys up. So here we have our beautiful oysters with herb compound butter. Set that there. Got a little avocado here. So one of the tricks with the avocado is taking a spoon and starting at about 10 o'clock and pressing the spoon to the back of the avocado shell. And then the avocado comes out as a single mass. And then I'm just going to do quick little dice on this. So if I use just the tip of my knife, I can keep the avocado in place on the board. Stays in one place, doesn't move around. And then I can just nice little somewhat uniform dice of avocado. Add a little fat, a little color, a little texture to the dish. And really, who doesn't like avocados? And so we have our marinated grilled shrimp with sangrita and avocado.